Actually red line. Defending.
I think it's like.
People, Deluded, I'm back again. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and in some cases, good night. Appreciative of all of you lot tuned in, however you're tuned in, wherever you lot are from and wherever you're locked in from. Please do me a favor, make sure you're getting the creative juices flowing, and any comments you're commenting on anything we discuss or anything in general with Arsenal, you lot make the platform, hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't, do that for the YouTube algorithm. Now, it's the international break, and obviously, after seeing Spurs drop points, Chelsea drop points, City drop points, Arsenal win, obviously bouncing back from, 2 weeks ago, people, it is a healthier time where Arsenal's concerned. But the Premier League, just when it's heating up and getting exciting, unfortunately, another international break has come. So there isn't really anything else to do, really, but talk about the Premier League season that we've seen so far and games that we've seen so far and go over the paper talk. You know that Arsenal are linked with a lot of players. Again, 99.9% of these rumors are BS. I don't believe anything until people are holding shirts, but it makes for good talking points. As you know, where Arsenal are concerned, there's issues in the central midfield. We've been once again linked with Douglas Luiz, which a couple of years ago we did try to buy him. It didn't happen. Since then, Aston Villa are flying. He signed a new deal. And with Partey's injuries and just our frailties in midfield, if it couldn't be made any worse, Fabio Vieira being sent, given a straight red for his tackle against Burnley. I didn't see it. I can't comment. It makes it a lot worse. And we can't pay players to stay fit. Romano has said, people, on Douglas Luiz, Arsenal are going to look again in the midfield market in January after Partey's injury. Should be looking regardless. Understand Douglas Luiz remains the fave option in Arsenal since a long time. Arsenal love him, but ambitious Aston Villa want to keep hold of him. Not easy. So we're probably going to have to pay an inflated fee, in which, again, ultimately, it's not my money. If he comes in and Edu and Arteta are fans and he can bring something to the team, it is what it is. But there has to be value for money. I always say, Ivan Toney, Pedro Neto, and Douglas Luiz, they're probably in Zubiamendi with his release clause. Exclude Zubiamendi for a minute, but you could keep him in. If we got those three players, I'm not saying they're bad. I'm not saying they don't make our squad stronger. I'm just saying, that's probably touching a similar sort of fee in the regions of what we spent last summer. Is that much value for money in January? Is that realistic? I believe regardless of Thomas Partey being fit or anyone else, I think we need to look at central midfield. We've got some decent defensive options, got some decent options further forward. I'm not saying we can't bring improvements. Midfield, there's more questions than answers. Declan Rice, in his own way, answers a lot, but he's only one man. And even if everybody's fit, we know with Thomas Partey, there isn't too much longevity. His future is always, kind of going like that, regardless at Arsenal. I wonder, with his age, with his injury record, with the wages after bringing in players on big money and handing out new contracts, next summer is the chance to shed his wages off the wage bill. And obviously, maybe Smith Rowe and Aaron Ramsdale, if they're not gone in January, might be gone as well. I'm all for Douglas Luiz. I don't think he's a bad player. I think you can offer something. I don't think he transforms our midfield, but I do think he'll play better with better players. And if Edu and Arteta do like him, well, and he can play as an 8 and a 6, he does have potential to get better. Obviously, as I said, I don't see Douglas Luiz and go, wow, our midfield is much better, but we're a lot stronger. And he also is Premier League proven. But it's going to cost a lot. As it says there, Villa are ambitious, their season's flying, and you've got to pay an inconvenience fee. If you want to buy Douglas Luiz, Ivan Toney, or Pedro Neto, you have to pay an inconvenience fee. These teams are challenging for what they're challenging for. I know Neto's got a massive injury. Now, obviously, Douglas Luiz has been linked with us before. Edu and Arteta, off their own right, allegedly like him. He's got his agent in Kai Jarutkin, who's been getting his feet under the door at Arsenal. And on top of us just needing a midfielder, you could see why these links there. There might be some element of truth, but I don't know really and truly, people, if I'm completely honest. Let me know your thoughts. Douglas Luiz is Arsenal's top midfield target. He's considered the perfect midfielder by people at Arsenal. They would love to sign him. Fair enough. This article by Football London has said Arsenal could offer Smith Rowe in a cash plus player deal with Aston Villa for 25-year-old Brazilian midfielder Douglas Luiz. How much do they value Douglas Luiz at, and how much is Emil Smith Rowe valued at, being an England international? Once upon a time, being one of the first names on the Arsenal team sheet. But since then, his stock has fallen. And surely it makes more sense to buy Douglas Luiz in his own right, or offer Aston Villa the chance to sign Smith Rowe on loan. Because even if Smith Rowe isn't in our plans and he goes to Aston Villa, stays fit, does what he needs to do there, then obviously we're in a stronger position to sell him. He has been linked with Aston Villa before. He has, especially when he signed that new deal, has been linked with Newcastle and a couple of other clubs, really. And it's a bitter pill to swallow. Could had Smith Rowe have been fit, between the void left with Partey's injury and Jorginho not being able to play every game, and the same goes with El Nene and Kai Havertz's struggles, either on the left-hand side or the right-hand side of the midfield, even with Odegaard not being fit. It could have been an opportunity for Smith Rowe, especially when he was looking like he was getting sharper and in the groove of things, to stake a claim. But right now, he's going to have to be patient, people. Carrying that on, people, apparently Fraser Fletcher, who's a correspondent for Team Talk, don't know his credibility, not dissing him, but don't know his credibility, don't know if he's in the know, and all of that jazz. He has said Aston Villa have placed a 60 million valuation on Douglas Luiz. Luiz is interested in a move to a top club, and the law of Champions League football is believed to be something he's finding hard to ignore. Arsenal will make an attempt to complete a deal in January. 60 million for Douglas Luiz, probably 15 million too expensive, but if that needs to be done, that needs to be done. I don't think we're going to do that. I think we're more likely to get a lesser known profile. Again, it is difficult, you know, to lure these players. But I would rather spend 50 odd million on Zubiamendi if he does want to leave Sociedad mid-season, because he's got a release clause, because his wages will probably be cheaper. And I just think he's a better player and fits what Arteta wants. I describe Zubiamendi as a younger Jorginho with better defensive metrics, if that makes sense. But we need midfielders in it. We're playing a very dangerous game in midfield, and we've seen how injuries can derail things. Fabrizio Romano has said Aston Villa consider Douglas Luiz, who is repped by Kaya Jarutkin, as a crucial player for their project. Only a crazy huge offer will be considered in January, so Arsenal will have to invest a lot of money to land their top midfield target. So if there's a will, there's a way, but we have to be prepared to assess other targets, and crazy money means something Aston Villa can't turn down, because in their own way, Douglas Luiz leaving derails whatever they're doing. They've got a strong team. They're doing things under Unai Emery. So we'll have to see. We've been linked with Miguel Gutierrez, who is playing for Girona, who are flying in La Liga, people. Apparently, Arsenal sent scouts to track him. He's contracted until 2027. Just because we're tracking doesn't mean we're moving for anyone anytime soon. But it's nice to see we've got our eyes and ears open for talent of the future, people. Once again, People Romano said it's important to clarify at this point that there is no asking price, because Villa insists they want to keep Luiz in January. He's a key player for them, so it would take an important bid for Arsenal to convince Villa and to sign Douglas in Jan. It's not easy, but for sure he remains one of the top names in their list for the position, considered a top player. And you do go back, you know, you coulda, woulda, shoulda is another thing, but should you just bitten the bullet when we tried to buy him a few years ago and paid whatever it was then, because it's probably a lot more expensive. Sasha Boy is a player that's been linked with other British clubs and has again been linked with Arsenal. Romano has said another player linked with Arsenal is Galatasaray right back Sasha Boy, who spoke in an interview recently about the Gunners holding talks to sign him during the summer, though he says they never made an official bid. Honestly, though, I'm told Arsenal were never in concrete talks for any fullback, as they signed Timber as their priority target to cover different positions. So with Boy, it was nothing concrete, nothing advanced. Many clubs are following Boy for the future, but it's not something that we can describe as a deal or negotiation yet. The more I learn about him, though, the more I do like him. Romano has said on Zubiamendi, he is another player really appreciated by Mikel Arteta, and he looks perfect for their project. But from what I'm hearing, the player is very happy at his current club and not thinking about moving at the moment. He also has a 60 million euros release clause, so is another target who would not come cheap. Gareth Southgate is trying to scare Aaron Ramsdale, and maybe Ramsdale's getting itchy feet and tries to go on loan in January or leave the club permanently in January, which for me, I hear you. You want to play for England, you want to play on a regular basis, but the collective comes first. Raya can't play against Brentford, that's for sure. So we need Ramsdale, and God forbid if something happens to Raya, we need a keeper, really. And I do think the club will be looking in the next year to find a goalkeeper that kind of is a more number two and what Mikel Arteta demands of a goalie. And I do think Ramsdale will be moved on. I just have this feeling that he goes to Newcastle. But Southgate said, I think longer term, we're just going to have to see how it is. If we get to March and he's 6 months without playing regularly, I'm never going to promise things that I couldn't guarantee delivering. I spoke to him and he knows that. And to be fair, you look at Trafford, there's a couple English goalies about, but form or not, Ramsdale, you can't say Ramsdale shouldn't be in any England squad, really. So I don't know what that is all about. Apparently, Aston Villa, Everton, Palace, and Newcastle are all interested in Smith Rowe, and allegedly, according to Ekrem Konor, forgive me for mispronunciation, he's valued at 30 million euros, which is about 28 million quid. I know his stock has fallen, but I don't really buy that. What's this? Arsenal's signing plan is hit as January budget revealed. What does this mean? We all know we like Douglas Luiz and we've been linked with Zubiamendi. We all know allegedly we considered selling Thomas Partey mid-season, which I don't really buy. Summer settings. And since then, there's been a spanner in the works, people. So I'm not too sure what this article is actually getting at, really, but fair enough. There's not really anything in that. Arsenal response to Chelsea swoop for Ramsdale revealed. Arsenal unwilling to let Ramsdale leave the club in the January transfer window, allegedly. As you know, he's been linked with Chelsea, which, again, Chelsea's a big club, a massive club, ambitious project. They will get it right. Stays in London. I couldn't begrudge Ramsdale for being enticed. And if you believe in your heart that you've got more chance of, if you had a conversation with Pochettino about taking Sanchez's spot over David Raya, who they're both ironically Spanish keepers, fair enough. But for me, it doesn't make sense. You're going to go there where Sanchez, where you two are kind of in the same bracket. You don't know the number one. You've got this situation at Arsenal. Surely you should go somewhere where you're clearly going to be the number one. But nonetheless, you know, if Chelsea were to offer 50 odd million quid, fair enough. Ramsdale wants regular football ahead of the Euros, and maybe he does play at Chelsea, but it doesn't really make sense, if that makes sense. Surely if you were to even leave on loan or permanently in January, you're going to go somewhere where you're assured. I back him over Nick Pope, really. But even if you go to Newcastle in January, for questioning my own logic, it's not clear that you're going to start ahead of him. So maybe he needs to go somewhere he's assured game time, really. Wherever that is, I don't know. I'm sure Arsenal will entertain offers if Ramsdale makes clear he wants to leave in the summer. He's contracted until 2026, so it strengthens our hand in that regards. Apparently, Football Insider said Arsenal are unlikely to succeed with January moves for Douglas Luiz or Zubiamendi, which, again, is going to cost a lot of money to price Douglas Luiz away. And I don't think Zubiamendi, without knowing him, wants to leave mid-season, people. So you either go all out for these players or, you know, you sign other targets. I can't imagine there's just, I'm sure if there was a list of central midfielders, there's some that you'd consider more priorities than others. You'd more want them than others, but we can't afford to sit here and say, no Zubiamendi, no Douglas Luiz. We're not moving for everyone. We need to have different profiles, which I'm sure the club have. Fraser Fletcher has also said Arsenal made a strong attempt to sign Lautaro Martinez previously, and Mikel Arteta is still a big fan, according to sources. The Argentine striker has seen his value rise significantly since then, and Inter would take some serious convincing to let him go. Again, that seems to be something to have any hope. You do that in the summer. And apparently he's in talks to sign an extension at Inter Milan, people. So unless it's crazy money, he's not departing. He did reject the chance to join Arsenal once when we failed to qualify for the Champions League. This article has said he was once interested in joining Arsenal in the same year. So maybe we've done some groundwork and we can revisit that. The Athletic did say that Gabriel Jesus at the time of signing was our main target, but we did discuss Scamacca, Lautaro Martinez, Victor Osimhen, and Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Since then, for me, out of all of these players, there's only two I'll consider. Scamacca's done well since leaving West Ham. It would only be Osimhen be my first choice, and then it would be Lautaro Martinez. Tammy Abraham, I still think the club like him, but his stock's kind of fallen. Dominic Calvert-Lewin, you're kind of a sick note and a flight risk where injuries are concerned. And I like Scamacca, and I don't know why it didn't work out at West Ham, but I would stay clear personally, folks. We've been linked with Julian Brandt once again of Borussia Dortmund, as well as Newcastle. People, that's from the Mirror. Barcelona are leading the race to sign Gabriel Moscardo ahead of Arsenal and Chelsea, whose interest in Corinthians midfielder last summer came to nothing. And he also spoke about that, people, for what it's worth as well. But apparently Arsenal are being linked with him again. A journalist out of Brazil has claimed that, you know, Arsenal are one of the clubs looking at the player. Apparently it's also said Arsenal's interest doesn't sound so strong, though, with the story saying that Chelsea and Barcelona are the strongest contenders. And he's doing all right at Corinthians, and he's basically talked up Chelsea interest but played it down and said he leaves it to his dad as well in previous articles. So who knows in that regards. I can't imagine we haven't got the gist of it already, but allegedly Arsenal are ready to put their move for a striker on hold until the end of the season and concentrate on signing a new midfielder, but will operate to a tight budget to ensure they stay within FFP guidelines and could look to sell a player to supplement their budget, says Sammy Mokbel. Can we afford to sell players, really? You know, Smith Rowe, Ramsdale, Eddie Nketiah and Nelson are always linked with moves away, and I think there's every logic with selling them if it's a decent offer. But we've got a thin squad, and we're trying to compete on all fronts. I don't advocate, and actually you could throw Jorginho into that. Unless you bring in these replacements, which I can't expect a busy January, I don't think it makes sense. In the summer, Bob's your uncle. Do what needs to be done, really. I don't think we'd ever go in to sign a striker of the household names of the Tonys, the Martinez, the Osimhens, and all Vlahovic and all these guys in January anyways, really. I think that was always going to be a summer target. I do think if a deal's there to be done, then why not? Romano has spoken on Partey. Juventus were interested in Partey last summer, but then Arsenal decided to keep him. I'm not expecting big movements for Partey in January. I'm told Juventus want more offensive players in midfield than Thomas, and with Partey being out for the rest of the year, allegedly, doesn't make sense. Surely if you're going to buy Partey, you want to see how he recovers from this injury. I'm still told, Mikel Arteta considers Thomas an important player, despite recent reports from Italy that the Ghana international could look to leave, folks. Zubiamendi, Romano has said Zubiamendi is another player really appreciated, but from what I'm hearing, the player is very happy at his current club and not thinking about a move at the moment. Once again, he's got a 60-odd million pounds release, 60-odd million euros release clause that equates to about 52 million quid, which could be money well spent. Once again, we've been linked with Julian Brandt. So with everything being discussed, people, let me know your thoughts on what you would like Arsenal to do in January. Would you like what would be you lot's priority? Out wide, a winger, a striker, a centre mid, all of them? Do you feel we need any adjustments? Do you feel we need a defensive option? What do you feel about Lautaro Martinez? What do you feel about Julian Brandt, Sasha Boy, Gabriel Moscardo? Would you let Smith Rowe go? Would you let Aaron Ramsdale go? Let me know your thoughts, people. Football is a diverse game. We all see things through different lenses, and I welcome opinions and challenges of opinions. The world would be boring if we all thought the same way. And so with the channel, and I really like you lot's thoughts. So yeah, don't get away without dropping a comment either when this video premieres or in the comment section after. Hit the like button, turn on your notification bells. Make sure you're subscribing. Most importantly, stay blessed, stay safe. Hope you and your loved ones, that's the same said for them. And also, people, with it being Monday, let's go and attack our goals religiously, man. Let's go and have a great week, man. Move that much closer to our goals, hopes, dreams, ambitions, and aspirations. With that said, stay safe, stay blessed. One love.
There's always just that active red flag, defending.
I think it's like